There was a question about Charles Lindberg. Do you remember when Charles Lindberg flew to town here?
Oh, indeed I do, sure.
What was that like?
He came into the airport, what we call the airport, which is just out by the city hall now. And he flew into the airport. His sponsor was Mrs. Knight. Mrs. Knight lived in Montecito. She was an aunt of the Wymans, which were prominent people, and the Wyman's son. He and I were always competitive in grade school and high school together, as far as tests go and test scores and so forth. I knew the family well. I would occasionally go over and stay overnight with them. They lived in Serena, and so I had a little head information. In other words, Frank Wyman's aunt was sponsoring Colonel Lindberg when he came here.
And what was it like? Did people show up when he flew in?
Oh, yes. People came and looked at the airplane, and we had a man in town that was probably 3, 4, 5 years older than I am, and he was very interested and dedicated to the coming of airplanes. And
was that Bauhaus?
That's Hugo at Bauhaus, and so he was involved when Lindbergh came in, and ever since then I always think of Charles Lindbergh as almost as a Carpinteria boy. You know?
What was he like? Was he friendly to people?
Oh, indeed, he was a very friendly person, and just a common individual that was just going about the business, and actually to the good of the world. He did a lot for the advancement of airplanes.
I know that he was very popular from his solo flight across the Atlantic and his other feats, but then when World War II came, he apparently didn't support the U.S.'s involvement in the war. Did he become less popular after that?
Not to people that I know. And I have so much thrown that out of my mind that I'd forgotten it entirely until you mentioned that now. But yes, that was quite a problem. And there was a real difference there that took him away from either doing his share of advancing use of airplanes or getting around with people on a friendly basis. I felt very, very unfortunate that this took place. I'd forgotten all about that, but yes, that's true. You know, he flew across the Atlantic Ocean. He didn't fly around Carpinteria Valley, and this was a world most outstanding thing that happened during those years of advancement of airplanes. And but he did have a political problem there that affected it.
Did the airport here in Carpinteria, which is Costa's auto repair place, was a hangar in the airport, I believe?
That's correct. That was the hangar.
And did the airport go out of business when the airport in Santa Barbara was built?
I don't know really why the airport in Carpinteria didn't advance, but it never did become much of a commercial airport. You see, there was also an airport in Serena.
Serena is where Padaro Lane is? Serena?
Yeah, The area we call the Triangle, which is just south of the polo field. There was a little airport there, and it never went very far either. Neither one of them were very commercial to really where they got to be a paying thing. Now, there was a third airport at Parsons. Are you aware of that?
Where was that?
Parsons is where 150 meets the freeway.
Right here in the Carpinteria
Just
Valley?
past the industrial park.
And
that is south of industrial park. And I've come in and out of that field quite often. They used that field to develop the offshore oil fields.
There's still a little bit of a runway there or hangars there, I
That's
believe?
correct. Yeah, it's Louis Parsons' property, and it used to be a full field, but it wasn't very level, and it was kind of dangerous. You came in from the south over that kind of deep hole where Rincon Creek comes down, and you had to get down pretty close to that, and then as you landed, you were coming downhill, and so you had a little trouble stopping at the far end of the field. But I've flown out of there quite times.
Tell me about Circa Del Mar. What was that like, and for people that don't know about it?
Circa Del Mar was a club that was mainly just a large dance floor that people joined. As I recall, maybe their membership was somewhere around $100, and then they were a member.
And where was it?
And it was right at the foot of Carpinteria Creek, where Carpinteria Creek gets into the ocean, and it was a very nice, large, wonderful dance floor.
And there was a pier there too, is that right?
And there was a pier also that went out at